I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
They're obvious.
Yep. So y'all ain't got to lie to me. Y'all just lying to yourselves. Look, okay, we know what it is. We know what it is. At this point, come on now. Come on. She's not worth it. She's not worth dying on that hill, guys. Like, come on, let's not do this. She helped Biden put everything in place. So everybody who tries to disavow her of the VP status she has, there you go.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now, every now and then, a clip just pops up on my timeline that is just perfect. You've probably heard me say this, and of course that's no surprise because it's happened before, but it's usually pretty rare. It doesn't happen so often, but here we are again. The absolute perfect clip. We've got the dishonest left-wing mainstream media's priorities in contrast with regular people's priorities, and you'll see what a divide, a giant chasm that lies in the middle here. Let's take a look at MSNBC's Alex Wagner's total shock and panic in real time here. Another huge reality check for MSDNC. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so I kept the intro as sweet and short as I possibly could, because the clip is pretty long, but it's equally entertaining as it is long, so go ahead and take a look here. It's like I said, the perfect moment.
Does anybody have any idea about what's happening in the federal courts relating to Donald Trump's the January 6th event and what's going on there with Trump? Wait, I'm sorry to keep coming back to you, but so you haven't talked to me about your level of interest in the criminal charges and so forth.
February 6th?
January 6th.
So I remember that day. I know he was the standing president. I'm not familiar with the charges that are brought against him for that. I'm not following that charge I know there's multiple court cases going on. I'm just not familiar with it.
That doesn't sound like it's going to be a factor in deciding who to vote for.
No.
Okay, so when I say January 6th, what do you think?
Oh, I just remember seeing it on the news, like all the riots and stuff. Don't really know what it was about or what happened, though.
How did it make you feel when you saw it?
I don't know. I don't really feel any way about it. People showed their emotion, I guess. Probably in the wrong way, but it happened.
Who here has been following the decisions from the Supreme Court? Raise your hands.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing only a handful. Who here knows what the Dobbs decision is? One person. Okay, that's super interesting. So you think Democrats are too open-ended on abortion and Republicans?
And shout out guest dude, man. Appreciate the support. Hey, back for the live show. How'd you like the vids I sent? Also, what did I miss the last couple of days? You ain't missed too much. We had a couple exposés on here, but hey, man, we glad you're here now, man. Appreciate you.
Are too restrictive? Yep. Okay. What about you?
And I did actually enjoy those videos. Yeah, definitely informative. I appreciate that.
Same as her.
Definitely caught me up on that whole Masonic, belief and background.
You don't have to? Well,
I don't really have an opinion on it. I haven't looked into it or even thought about it, really.
Who here is voting for the first time? Is this anybody's first election? You guys back here. What's sort of made its way across your radar? Any stories or issues or positions?
Mostly just immigration.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What about immigration have you been paying attention to?
There are thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border every day, and the vice president has done minimal work to fix that, based on what I've seen. So I'd like that to change.
Do you feel like Donald Trump's going to be better on that issue?
Based on what we've seen on his first 4 years, I do believe that he will be better on that. Yeah.
Are you leaning towards Trump right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything that Vice President Harris could do at this point to change your mind?
Not particularly, no. Unless she changes her stance completely on fixing the border. That's no.
This is your first election?
Yeah, it is.
And have you been paying attention to stuff?
Some things, but as of right now, it's kind of hard to know what is true and what's false as far as both parties are concerned.
Like, what issue matters to you the most?
Okay.
Definitely are issues concerning democracy and what was discussed before the border.
What about immigration concerns you?
The influx in illegal immigration is affecting a lot more than just the people, but our economy, we're losing jobs for the people who live here. People are, running out of work, and in return, it's making life as a whole for the country harder.
Do you feel like one candidate or the other is better on that issue?
Like I said, I don't know what to believe from what I'm seeing from multiple news outlets and what comes across my news feed and whatnot, so I'm not super opinionated either way.
How do you think you're going to ultimately decide? I know we talked to one gentleman who said, I think I'm just going to kind of go with my heart on election day.
As the election comes a little closer, I think the more I see and the more truth that ends up coming out, I'll be able to make a more educated.
I'm sure you see exactly what I was saying. This little MSNBC segment here is one of the most clear examples of how out of touch and disingenuous the left-wing mainstream media has become. In their constant quest to push narratives of outrage, they were once again attempting to drum up hysteria here over issues like January 6th and abortion. They were fishing for something, you could so clearly tell, right?
Damn.
But the result of their own interviews with voters reveal just how disconnected they are from the concerns of regular Americans. When they ask these voters about their priorities, expecting to hear passionate condemnations of January 6th or desperate pleas on abortion rights. How absolutely stupid that is. As if regular hardworking blue-collar workers are ever going to prioritize abortion as their political issue. But anyways, they were clearly fishing for some sort of condemnation. They wanted that spicy clip, right? They wanted that voter, that regular blue-collar working-class Michigan guy. They wanted him on tape parroting the left-wing talking point. But instead they were met with indifference. Most people just don't see these issues in the same exaggerated, apocalyptic terms that the media insists upon. MSNBC and the rest of
January 6th was just a protest that turned into a riot, and that's all it was. It was not an insurrection because they did not show up there with assault rifles or guns, trying to take out the president. You're trying to overthrow the government here, not just storm a Capitol building.
Their ilk have been relentlessly promoting the idea that January 6th was some sort of existential threat to democracy, a domestic 9/11, if you will, or I guess as Kamala Harris put it, even worse than 9/11 and Pearl Harbor combined. But the reality is, at least for most people, it simply doesn't resonate that way with them. Sure, it was an ugly event, but the endless sensationalizing and fear-mongering have failed to land with average voters whose concerns are more immediate and personal. The economy, inflation, crime, education, and healthcare. And in a way, I feel like Democrats did this to themselves. I think the perfect term is sensationalizing. They've simply taken it all too far. They've exaggerated to such an extreme degree. Their coverage over the years of January 6th has been so profoundly disingenuous. They selectively choose which facts they want to emphasize. They twist and spin and manipulate the facts, attempting to spin the event, the day itself, into something that it simply wasn't, in order to demonize an entire political movement. They've gone too far, and people see it. They frame it as if anyone who dares question the official narrative becomes an enemy of democracy, when in fact many Americans, many people are rightfully skeptical of the hyperbole and the fear tactics that have been used to manipulate public perception. This constant rehashing of January 6th is nothing more than a political tool to bludgeon Donald Trump and anyone around him. It's been used as a political cudgel, and of course it's been used as a big distraction, a distraction away from real issues that are plaguing the nation, real issues that actually affect people's lives. January 6th sucked, but you know what else sucked? The 2020 summer of riots the Democrats essentially bankrolled, enabled, and justified. Riots are ugly. Pretty much everybody understands this. But the double standard here and the exaggeration, the constant harping on January 6th, the constant rehashing, is clearly disingenuous and partisan. People simply don't see it the way the left likes to present it. And it's the same thing on abortion. Abortion, too, has become a tool for the left to...
I honestly think we're just tired of y'all demonizing this man. That's really what it is. We're just tired of the demonizing. That's it. It's like y'all doing too much. You're trying too hard to demonize somebody who's not even what y'all say he is. And then y'all doing it to such a, I ain't gonna lie, a gross misrepresentation of who he is, of what he says. It's like, at this point, we cannot believe anything y'all say about Donald Trump. Like, y'all made yourselves unbelievable when it comes to this man. Like, I'll believe, come on support about anything, but except on something about Donald Trump. Like, we could talk about economics and all this good stuff. We could talk tariffs. We can debate all that good stuff. But as soon as you guys bring up Trump, it's like, well, you hate the man. So it's hard to believe anything that you're saying about him. Because I don't hate Kamala Harris. I don't. I ain't gonna lie. Like, bro, she's been the most invisible vice president, and now she finally pops up out of nowhere. Of course, I got to do my research into her. And once you do the research into her, you kind of see like, oh, this is not what we want. But shout out Tucker Carlson, man, for hosting this one right here. And we're going to do the Book of Enoch, man. We're going to do the Book of Enoch, which is the missing book of the Bible. Or the alleged missing book of the Bible. And the fake moon was pretty much a conspiracy theory saying that our moon is actually hollow. It's not an actual it's actually a spaceship. That's what you're trying to say. It's actually a spaceship that placed there to pretty much control our tides and all that good stuff. Yes.
Kill children post viability and allow infanticide, which is to say.
But let's get into the little pro-abortion debate before we head into that.
Laws that allow doctors to kill children post viability and allow them to stand by as babies born in botched abortions die. And the media in the Democratic Party, same thing, have pushed back ferociously on this. Fact checked it. You're a medical ethicist. This is right at the center of what you study for a living. Is that true?
It's absolutely true. And until this whole political thing got in the way, everyone knew it was true. I was doing my dissertation at Notre Dame on neonatal bioethics, and I rounded with neonatal teams in hospitals in the United States and Europe. And everyone knew that not only in the abortion context you're discussing, but in many other kinds of contexts, we would just simply choose not to treat certain children, especially if they were too disabled. And we would call it comfort care, we'd call it something else, but everyone knew exactly what was happening. So it's not just the abortion case, far from it. It's just a matter of routine in NICUs across the country and around the world.
Okay, and this is longstanding.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, you could do it in a way where you bypass the parents. It's called slow coding or show coding, where the medical team basically says, I'm not sure this baby is, or I think this baby is too disabled, right? Or will have too hard a life. It's not in this baby's interest in living. The couple wants to do everything. The family wants to do everything. We don't agree with it. And so it's a well-known practice, actually, to show code or slow code your way into getting the outcome you want. That's without the families.
Wait, so hospitals kill people's kids without telling them?
I mean, it's a little more complex than that. It's not what Trump, unfortunately, uses the phrase when he talks about it in a particular Trumpian way, execution, right? It's not as if there's like a pillow put over their head or a sharp object is used or even like a poison is administered. It's more like throwing someone away or discarding them in a way that keeps them comfortable. So it's called comfort care. The debate over the law in Minnesota that has prompted so much debate over this insists that the babies be given comfort care, but that's actually hiding what's actually going on in these particular circumstances. They're given comfort care because they're not given the typical care that others get.
What is comfort care?
It's mostly a kind of palliative care or a sense of trying to keep someone from not feeling pain or something like this.
Like giving them opioids?
Yeah, or keeping the temperature appropriate and that sort of thing. In fact, the former governor of Virginia, right, was caught on tape, essentially, or not caught on tape. He gave a radio interview saying this happens all the time. The baby would be kept comfortable. And then he said, I'll tell you what would happen. The baby would be kept comfortable. And then we'd make a decision together with the parents about what exactly to do. And
it's so funny. I actually have that video. Yes, I do, actually. Yes, here at Sankey Media, we actually have the video that he's talking about. Let me go ahead and pull that one up for y'all, because that is crazy. It's like, we actually take the baby out, we resuscitate it, we want to see if it's for care. A lot of people say something different, but no.
He will sign a national abortion ban.
It's a lie.
I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban.
Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion monitor.
What she says is an absolute lie.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion.
The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mothers.
Donald Trump.
And, you know, if that doesn't bring it home for you, don't worry. I got one more thing that might just bring it home. Gotcha.
Bethesda, Maryland. Right, calling the CARE Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland.
Thank you for calling CARE. How can I help you?
I am looking to have an abortion.
How far along are you?
I'm 34 right now. I am in a pretty desperate situation. My boyfriend is kind of out of the picture now, so I don't really have any support.
An abortion at any stage is actually much safer than delivering a term pregnancy.
Huh?
It's a 4 to 5 day procedure. We do some basic lab work on you and start to dilate your cervix. After that, we do what we call the fetal injection. A needle is inserted through the abdomen and into the fetal heart where lidocaine is injected, and that will completely numb the fetus so there's no pain. And then after that, we inject a medication called digoxin and another medication called KCL into the fetal heart, which will slow and then stop the fetal heartbeat. And then on that 4th day, depending on how your cervix is dilated, we'll break your water, and then we'll give you a medication called misoprostol. Misoprostol will sort of induce contraction and increase the dilation of your cervix. You're going to have contractions and cramping, and then we'll assist you in sort of pushing in the induction and then remove all of the products of conception. You're definitely going to feel
all of the products of conception. Is like anything to dehumanize a human life. It's a goddamn baby. It's a baby, okay? It's a baby. It's a human life. No, not it's a product of conception. Like I can just buy it at the store. Hey, yo, man, can I get some conception here, man? Can I buy conception? Like, no, you can't buy. God damn it, man. Y'all killing me. It's just dehumanizing.
He said this in his interview, right? Very matter-of-factly. And he was right to do so because until recently, this was not a controversial thing, or it's a controversial thing, but it's not controversial that this goes on at all.
And you're saying it goes on. I mean, there's so many questions.
Sure.
One, I think I wasn't aware this happened with children. I mean, of course, with the elderly, at the request of the patient, very often, physicians stop treatment.
Right.
Which strikes me as fine. I don't, something that I would want. I don't, most people don't want extraordinary treatment, at 90 or something. But you're saying it's very common with children, and then you're further saying that it happens without the parent's knowledge or consent. That strikes me. How is that not a crime?
Well, it should be a crime, but to be clear, it doesn't happen very often, right? That is not routine. The slow coding or show coding. Most
slow coding. Coding means death, right?
Well, coding is specifically coding somebody as a particular kind of patient. So if it's full code, you do everything to save the child's life, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's a different kind of code, like say a DNR, right, or a different kind of code would be put in to say, no, we're not going to do anything to save the person, which is totally legitimate in many other contexts, right? At the end of life, we might make a choice about how to live, right, and say, I want to live the rest of my life in this very particular way, so I'm going to have a DNR.
I don't want chemo.
Yeah, something like that. Slower show coding.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but sure. Just to be clear, as an ethicist, you're okay with that?
Yeah. As long as what we're saying is it's a choice about how to live, not a choice about dying, right? So if I say I want to live the rest of my life without chemotherapy or without other aggressive treatments, and to use the language of moral philosophy and moral theology and bioethics, I foresee but don't intend that death is going to be the likely result of this, or death will be sped up as a result of this. Totally fine, totally legitimate. Centuries we've been doing this. It's quite different, of course, to say either as a person yourself or as a medical team or as a surrogate for another person to say, let's not treat you so that you die, right? Like we are aiming at your death. We are trying to kill you. And the context of abortion reveals exactly what's going on here. So Tim Walz and company in Minnesota specifically rewrote laws in that state to say, I know we have this Infant Born Alive Protection Act here, but we need to make it available to medical teams and others when there's a botched abortion to give the baby only comfort care and let them die. But we know that it's not foreseen but not intending death because there was an abortion attempt, right? That was an attempt to kill. And so the attempt to kill is transferred over into the newborn context. And so we're just doing it by omission, right? We call it comfort care again. But let me give you another example of how this works. Sometimes, and very often, parents are encouraged to have abortions in these cases where they choose not to, right? They push back on the medical team. Like if there's a Down syndrome diagnosis, for instance, prenatally, the medical teams, this is well documented, will push them time and time again to have abortions. Even very pro-life, very prenatal justice focused parents get bombarded by medical teams.
Oh, I've lived that.
You've lived it.
Yes. And yes, with a false diagnosis, without even getting it's not about me, or my family. But I know for a fact that what you're saying is true because I've seen it with my own eyes.
It's extraordinary. And what sometimes happens, and this again reveals what's actually happening in the post-birth context, these teams will get so frustrated that they'll say, okay, we can't convince you to have an abortion. There's still things we can do after birth, right? So if you say, there was this case I just saw recently of a child who was diagnosed prenatally with spina bifida, and the medical team tried to get the mom to abort and was unable to do so. And the OBGYN said, okay, we can still choose not.
That's eugenics. That's eugenics right there. You're saying, oh, well, he has spinal bifida. He's born with a defect. You probably don't want to give birth to this child. It's like, yo, hold on. That's eugenics. Definition. That's like damn near the action of eugenics. Taking out unwanted disabilities or genetics.
Not to treat the child after birth. We'll give the child comfort care after birth. Now, you might be able to say in the abstract, well, what exactly is going on here? Is it more like foreseen but not intending death? But you know exactly what's going on here because the whole point...
They're trying to kill the kid.
They're trying to kill the kid. The child is too disabled. We decided.
Wait, why? I mean, I have thought this for, almost 30 years since I first saw it. But how can someone like that be allowed to be a doctor in our country if you're pushing a mother to kill her child? Like, isn't that the opposite of your job?
You would think so. We have a lot.
Hey, shout out guest dude, man, $10. He said, I propose a solution to the abortion debate. At the end of the uniday, at the end of the day, assigned personhood at conception, enhance education to women about or ovulation cycles, keep Plan B over the counter, and I ain't gonna lie, that's a banger idea, dog. Well, yeah, I can agree to that. Educating them for sure, yeah. Make sure these women know about ovulation cycles because a lot of women don't know. But then again, hey, it's their, I guess, most, I would just say, it's the most horniest time of the month. So what can you do? So, women gonna be women sometimes. And if they're irresponsible, hopefully they can take responsibility for their actions because that's basically what being a mother is at the end of the day. You opened your legs, you got pregnant. Well, take responsibility. Don't just take out the baby so you can go keep on being irresponsible.
A lot of good doctors who don't participate in these kinds of things.
We have a lot of them. I don't believe you.
We have a large number who either feel neutral about this or who feel positive about it, who are active in it. And and let me just give you an example of how the thought process goes. I wrote an article about this for the public discourse called "The Right to a Dead Baby?" ? And the way that they sort of try to justify it, and I cite all the literature in this article justifying this claim, the way they justify it is they say, well, after a certain time, we would never neglect a baby to death and call it comfort care because we've decided that there's a new person here that we're saving, actually, who's disabled, right? And but before that time, and it's for every medical team or every doctor, it'll vary. They think of it more as stopping an individual who's disabled from coming into existence, right? Now we're talking about newborn children here or neonatal children here.
Is it not?
And this is well documented. Again, the article is in the public discourse, "The Right to a Dead Baby?" ? And I cite all the research that shows that this is how this is thought of. And what's so interesting
Chris.
about this, Tucker, is what's, I think if we think about history, if we think about the pagan Greek and Roman culture that existed before Christianity came on the scene, these are the kinds of judgments that were made before a Christian ethic came to dominate in our
child
culture
sacrifices. Like, human sacrifices, child sacrifices. Bro, this is like, it's barbaric as hell. It's like before we found God type shit. So what are we doing? Like, if you really want to trace it all the way back, human sacrifices and all that was like Baali worship. Look at the Aztec priests and all that good stuff. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, we can't sit here and act like abortion doesn't have some type of relation to what child sacrifices are like used to represent.
Because, as you probably know, it was thought of as not a big deal at all in ancient Greece and Rome to simply discard children.
Bro, neither in Sparta, bro. They used to say, oh, defect off the cliff, gone. Nope, we ain't doing that.
That were too disabled or were female. Females were too expensive for many families, and so they were just discarded. And it's no surprise that as we have re-paganized, as the Christian culture has retreated, especially in medicine, right? Secularized medicine is deeply, deeply problematic and dominant at the moment, even in some contexts where you might not expect it to be. It's no accident we're moving towards this practice.
It's a little weird if sex selective abortion is defended by feminists, which I just find, I don't take feminists very seriously, but even by their low standards, that seems hard to explain. If your job is to defend women and fight against anyone who thinks of women as less valuable than men, how can you not say anything when sex selective abortion changes the demographic mix and say the biggest country in the world, China? I don't understand that.
Yeah. It's no accident that abortion is used as a tool of oppression for this in China and other places.
And shout out Marshall Ann Gaming. He's like, I heard of sacrifices to the god of fertility, but these people got it flipped now. They sacrifice to the god of infertility. And it is crazy. And shout out Daniel Castro, man, also sliding in there. I found you guys and have been at peace since knowing I'm not alone. They make us feel isolated and crazy by gaslighting us. We are the resistance. Thank you, bro. And no problem, bro. Shout out to y'all, dog, because yeah, they do try to make us sound crazy. They try to take us out of like character. I'm pretty sure y'all good people. But as soon as you start talking about what you believe in, all of a sudden they think you're racist, you're sexist, chauvinist, at least. But it is kind of crazy is that no, you're a person of good character who just have different ideals. That's it. You just see things differently. You think we should go about things differently, and it's what we call this repressive tolerance. Like I said, because you have conservative ideals, there's no tolerance for it. But if you are a leftist and you believe in everything on the left, there's all the tolerance for it. That's why you got these gay pride parades where people can do damn near whatever on the street. That's why abortion can be taken so far, because it's acceptance of all leftist ideology, and it's no acceptance, no tolerance of any conservative values.
It's no accident that it was used this way.
I feel your pain. Trust me, we all there.
The disabled were also,
especially if we grew up in a liberal household or or our parents voted Democrat all their life. Yeah, we're kind of in a tough spot.
Very much part of the group that would have been discarded. And just to give you a sense of how ubiquitous it was before Christians came on the scene, bro, there were systems in place where you would sometimes abandon your baby in specific areas, and with the hope that maybe somehow they would not die or from exposure or be eaten by animals or something, but maybe they'd be picked up by slavers, right, or sold into prostitution or something like this. Even the early church fathers said one reason you shouldn't visit a prostitute among the many is it could be a kind of incest, perhaps, because so many people in this area would be exposed and then prostitutes, right? You might have a family member there. I got to tell you one other case that just shows it's terrible, but it shows how ubiquitous it was. We have an ancient papyrus letter from, I think it's the year 1 AD, of a migrant worker named Hilarion, who is writing his pregnant wife, Alice, and he's in Alexandria doing migrant work. And he's worried that because his buddies are going to go home, we don't know quite where home is, but they're going to go home. And he's worried that she might think that he's abandoned her because he's not going to go with them. So he's writing her saying, dude, don't worry. I'm going to send you the money as soon as I get it. I'm going to stay in Alexandria and try to make some more money. By the way, if you're pregnant, and then he says, and take care of our loved ones. So they already have kids. Take care of our little one. And by the way, if you're pregnant, if it's a boy, keep it. If it's a girl, throw it out.
Whoa.
Okay, bye, essentially. It's an amazing letter. It reveals so much about the culture, including, again, when you don't have a Christian ethic that says all human beings are equal, right? When it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how young you are.
Nah, back in the day, it was like that. And I'm glad us guys have changed. Hey, women be thinking we're so horrible, but over time, we've changed. We have actually grown to love our daughters. I'll be real with you, because if you do read back in the day, we were savages. I mean, I want boys. If it's a girl, throw it away. Or if I have all girls, throw them away until I have a boy. Then I'll start keeping girls after. It was like wild how some guys was operating. And it's not like they were wrong. It's just what they were taught. Throughout time, that's what it was it. And it ended up screwing us over because, well, one, every species have more females than male. It's just how we survive. There gotta be more females than male. It's just the divine way God made it work. Shout out God. But that's just how it gotta be. So it didn't make sense for us to just start discarding our daughters. And I'm glad we've reached a new level of enlightenment to where we actually care for our daughters and don't see them as, throwaway babies.
Or how disabled you are.
And shout out Marshland Gamer, man. It's funny the left saying they're for the future, yet are steady pedaling backwards. Yeah, and then backwards, I mean steadily pedaling backwards in our birth rate. I'm tell you that too.
Or how expensive you are, how quote unquote burdensome you are.
Need more babies.
The good is not present in pre-Christian pagan Greece and Rome, and increasingly it's not present in our own repaganizing culture.
And it wasn't, present in supposedly Christian Europe in the 30s and 40s. And I just find it so interesting that, we spend a lot of time 80 years later talking about the Nazis, and obviously the Nazis are bad. Everyone agrees with that, very much including me. But the one thing that we almost never mention is that before they started rounding up other populations, the Nazis killed hundreds of thousands, about 300,000 Germans in hospital.
And shout out guest dude, shout out to all of you. I'm one of the lefties that doesn't hate on you if it isn't obvious. Nothing but love. Hey, shout out to all of you. I'm one of the lefties that does. Really? So wait, so you're voting for Kamala Harris? Well, I ain't mad at you. Shoot. I'm honestly curious. I like that. I like having people in the chat who low-key may not align politically or, ideology. One lives conservative, one lives leftist. Some people live moderately. I like it because it allows for all their ideas to just go ahead and just, be spread out. Go ahead. Tell the people how you think and be proud about it. You ain't hurting nobody. You ain't causing suffering upon nobody. You good.
The disabled children, a lot of them had comfort.
Even if you're slightly racist.
care, but it was murder. And we never talk about that for some reason. And it's sort of weird to see the American medical establishment, which I think thinks of itself as anti-Nazi. It's weird to see them embrace Nazi eugenics policy because that's exactly what they're doing, it sounds like.
At the early stages of life, yes. I think it's no accident this is defended as kind of an extension of abortion, which is a sacred cow that apparently we find it very difficult to ask questions about, even just very basic critical questions about saving lives after birth. There is a little more hope, I think, at the end of life. The American Medical Association still says that physician-assisted suicide can't be considered.
And shout out, man. He said, I don't vote, LL. Haven't in years. I just teach and learn. Hey, I feel it. Okay, I feel it. So I just teach and learn. And I ain't gonna lie, yeah, what you showed me, that was definitely teaching me some stuff. I was like, all right, bro, found the best video to break it down to me. Appreciate that, bro.
Consistent with any rational understanding of what healthcare is. That's still explicitly said by them, though it's under fire every year. And the beginning of medical ethics was actually the Nuremberg trials. The secular medical ethics was the Nuremberg trials, which called out a lot of these practices.
Then I'm aware of that, and I'm grateful for the codification of the lessons of the Second World War in our medical ethics. and this is what you do for a living. But it's just kind of weird to see that same medical establishment embrace Nazi medical ethics, which they have. So does anyone say that?
Yeah, I mean, it's as you know, the critique.
Now, somebody said, what's assisted, unaliving? Yeah, they can assist you in unaliving, 1, your baby, 2, yourself, and that's in Canada. And that's it. Like, that's it. That's it. Your baby or yourself, you can actually assisted unalive somebody. And they started doing that in Canada. So instead of, oh, come on, do you really want to be on this medication and be on the tax dollar? Come on, man, just end your life. That's what they're kind of pushing out here.
You're a Nazi is so overused that it sort of loses its bite sometimes. But
well, if being a Nazi means anything, it means euthanizing children who aren't fit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And
now let's get into the organ harvesting, because I always talk about it.
But I do think we should really care about whether a person is alive or dead. Like, I do think we should fret about these questions because every life has intrinsic value. And again, if you treat people...
Actually, just in case, so I don't accidentally get taken down if I walk away, because Tucker is a tricky play. Sometimes they let you play Tucker, sometimes they don't. But look, let me show you how I really don't care about how some people think. Like, I really don't. This guy, I'm not even mad at this guy. I'll be right back. This is hilarious.
Meet Steve Ramey. He's a Western Washington resident. He's over 60 by now, and he has a black adopted daughter. Her dad was a black man and deserted her. She's half white. There's only one problem.
I know that if I see a group of white kids and I see a group of black kids, I'm going to be more on guard with the black kids because of the way that I was trained, the way I was raised. I'm just trying to, I guess, be really honest.
His name is Steve Ramey, a Washington father with a secret that few people would have the courage to say out loud.
I know it's a really harsh thing to say, and I don't want to say it, and I know that people are going to take it wrong, but I know that I'm racist, and I don't want to be. I don't mean to be. I'm trying not to be. I'm trying to, and that's kind of what we're doing here, is how do I not be? When it's been ingrained in me for my whole life. I'm 60 years old. So my daughter is mixed, and we never really had a conversation about how that affects her.
He's raised his daughter, Caitlin, since she was 5 years old.
That's right. He's racist. Now, this is very interesting for a man to want to raise
Now, is he racist? Would he ever hurt a black person? No. Obviously, he procreated with a black person. Like, does he think he's better than black people? No, or he wouldn't have procreated with one. The problem is that we're calling him racist because of what? He says, I kind of just don't like that community. And is he, like, wrong? Is it bad? No. Nah, bro, look like a good guy. He had a whole black daughter. Like, come on now. It's absolutely funny how people, I think they're misusing the word racism in a way. Like, he just says, I just don't like those group of people. I mean, black people say that all the time. I don't like white people. I don't like white people, but then we'll say they're not racist. So let that same logic apply to this man. And hopefully y'all can take that one to the chin and not, blow up about it. There we go.
Like objects, you're going to wind up murdering millions of them because we've seen that again and again. So to the question of organ donation and, quote, harvesting organs, repulsive phrase, but I think is still used, right? Harvesting. Yeah. And it's repulsive because it treats people like farmland. Just like a medium in which this thing grows, this heart, liver, kidney. I don't like that at all. But it raises the question, are people from whom organs are, quote, harvested still alive?
I think these are deep questions we need to ask, Tucker. And I'm giving a talk at the seminary where I teach next week, which is essentially, should Catholics be organ donors, precisely in light of these questions. Again, I'm an organ donor. I have people in my life who are walking around right now because of organ donation. It's an incredibly important thing. But again, we should not be telling ourselves false stories about who is alive and who is dead just because we want more organs. That was the foundational mistake of...
So it sounds like we're harvesting organs, taking organs from living people.
If brain death is not death, then that's definitely what we're doing.
It's so crazy. Like, and I always just say, people like to put wrong or put evil under the term of legality, right? So just because abortion is legal doesn't mean it ain't murder at the end of the day. Doesn't mean you're not taking away a life. Just like back in the day was beating your wife may have been legal, but it did not mean that you wasn't abusing somebody, that you wasn't assaulting somebody. Come on now.
Do you think we're doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of heavy.
It's really heavy. It's really heavy.
I'm sure you're going to be yelled at for saying that because, like, how dare you get in the way of progress? But
and let me say it for a third time. I'm an organ donor. I support organ donation.
Yes.
I also support telling the truth about whether people are alive or dead. And to get back to the original reason for bringing this up, Peter Singer and I both agree that it was this foundational place where we said an obviously living human being no longer counts as a legal person and therefore we can take their organs. That was the foundational shift where we moved away from fundamental human equality and we moved it to something else. And then we slid into persistent vegetative state. You probably remember the Terry Schiavo case very well.
Very well. It does.
Terry Schiavo, for your listeners who aren't aware, was a woman who also underwent a catastrophic brain injury due to an eating disorder, as I recall.
I don't know. Personhood at conception, that's where things get ethically wrong because, bro, why are we over here trying to we know there's consciousness at 6 weeks. We know there's brain waves, but is it enough brain waves to be considered conscious? It's like now in all right, so it's like they moved the goalposts. Oh, it has brain waves. Was enough brain wave for consciousness? Well, who's to say how much brain waves equals consciousness? Where's the equation? Where's the math? Please show it to me so we can go ahead and work this math out. But they never want to give you that math. They just want to say, well, is it enough though? Is it enough? And I'm like, see, it's ending to dehumanize. They call it a clump of cells. They call it a parasite. Anything but what it actually is, a life, a gift from God. But when you take take God out of things, it's a little bit easier to dehumanize people or dehumanize, living things, a living life form inside a body. I mean, come on now. If all right, let's say if a bird had eggs, right? If you stepped on those bird eggs, did you kill his babies? Or I don't know if the chicklings was conscious yet, so I'm sorry. I don't know if the little bird babies was conscious yet, so come on now, guys. Really think about this.
And her husband and her family disagreed about what should be done. To be clear, persistent so-called vegetative state, no human being is a vegetable, but that's just sort of the language we use. Or have
but
used.
It's conscious.
It's changing now. But
isn't a person. It is a all right, look. The steps, here's the thing. This is why it's dehumanizing, because y'all using scientific terms to dehumanize a baby. Think about it. Okay, so what? It becomes zygote, all that good stuff. This is all the process for it to become a baby. Pretty much, it was a baby at the zygote or whatever state or whatever the first state is. It's a baby. And it just goes and forms into a full baby. Bro, maybe you could call it 1%, 2% complete, whatever. It is still 1% at completion, or 3, 4, 5% completion of being a full-blown human. So when you want to use these scientific terms to dehumanize it, okay, go ahead. But I'm sorry, I just can't agree with that. You're not just going to use science to dehumanize a conscious life form, no matter what you want to put on it. It's kind of crazy. It's like I said, if you took a bird's nest and started stepping on his eggs, did you kill its chicklings, or it's inside the egg, so it don't matter? What are you saying?
She did not have brain death. She had other parts. A large part of her brain had been fundamentally compromised, but she had sleep and wake cycles, and she responded. There's an amazing video online you can watch of her responding to music. Somebody plays music. She just sort of leans over and sort of makes a noise that sort of almost smiles. People who were there, like her parents, said they responded to her. There's a huge fight. You remember it sort of engulfed the nation in the early part of this millennium, early aughts. Anyway, it's interesting. Her I think nefarious husband won that battle, and they starved her and dehydrated her to death.
It's it's crazy because if we went back, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, we'd be hearing a different tone. They would call this murder. it's only in today's time where we just using scientific words or to dehumanize this, like to dehumanize these kids or these babies or these future babies or these soon to be babies. Like, what is the end result of this process? It's a human. So why can't it be human throughout the whole process of its development? Like, what's going on here?
After declaring essentially that she
I'm
was
just saying,
no
it's
longer
like
there. In fact, if anybody would challenge me on this, I challenge them to look at the gravestone that her husband created for her. It says that on the date of her catastrophic brain injury that she departed this earth. I think it was 1990. He uses the phrase "departed this earth," and then I think it was 2003 when they dehydrated her to death. It says she was at peace.
Oh Lord!
And so when I give talks,
but all right, we're about to head into the